Good day. How are you? Good. My name is Adrian Nilsson. I'm a strategic account director from the design agency Bold.
And I'm Gärde, design director at Bold.
And my name is Didrik Fjeldstad. Apparently you now know my entire life story. So in German for the first time, I've never heard that in German before. I am VP brand marketing for SAS. I am Norwegian. I live in Denmark, but work in Sweden, so I am Scandinavian.
So we're going to talk you through the SAS case today. We've been working on this for 2.5, 3 years. So there's tons of small details. I hope we're going to touch down on a few that might be a little bit interesting. There'll be some nice pictures anyway. That's us. When you go out travel, a lot of us go to sites like these. I would like to go to New York in September, so this is what I do. A lot of us do this now, and we scroll and see what's in there. And as you can see, I found a lot of airlines, but in order to find SAS, I'm down on page 3. So why would I choose SAS instead of Norwegian or any other airline? Luckily, it's a fairly common branding principle. It's in hotels or cars. Why choose Volvo or Fiat? Will take you to from A to B in just the same way, as fast. Or clothing, they'll both keep you warm, but one of them is a lot pricier. So why do you choose one brand over the other? And why are you prepared to pay more, even though the product is essentially the same? Small nuances of change or difference. And now the presentation jumped out. That's interesting. And we're back. And in order to answer that question, we look at this guy. This is Daniel Kahneman. He's a psychologist with a Nobel Prize in economy, which is interesting in itself. And he's wrote a book, a very good book. Had anyone read that book? Go read that book. It's a really good book. It's a book essentially about how you make decisions. And I thought we're going to do a small exercise. I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you to tell me what it is. So what's this? Anger. What did you see? A woman. You saw an angry woman. There was a lot of emotion going on. What's this then? So when you saw the picture of the woman, you could really easily see your brain just was a woman who's just angry, and then it was black and white and whatnot. But when you saw 17 times 24, you thought, I can figure that one out. But then your brain told you, I'm not gonna do. It's too hard. It's just too hard. What Daniel Kahneman, he's divided the brain into sort of 2 theoretical sections. 95% of our decision making is made with gut feeling, no rational thinking. Emotional, effortless, fast, it just happens. That's what happens when you see the woman. The other 5% is the rational, logic, reason, thinking. It's slow. So that's how people essentially make decisions, with a gut feeling. Then we have the basic question, why do you choose one brand over the other? So we have to, now we're taking care of the choose bit. Now we're looking at the brand. What is a brand? And in our definition, a brand is a sum of all associations they have. It's a sum of them. It could be anything, which leads to affect people act, which in our world will translate to willingness to pay, to buy more, or willingness to buy more, or willingness to pay more. But then the question is, what associations do we need to build on? Then we'll have to ask people, don't we? But if we ask people, if you look at the top example, it's a stove. So when we ask people if they want to buy a stove, they're going to tell us the stove needs to be safe. It needs to save me some cost, and it needs to be with good service. But through statistical analysis, we could look into people's minds, the other 95%, and see that it's actually a cozy atmosphere, and you can see plenty of the fire. That will drive me to buy that product, and it feels down to earth. It has nothing to do with those rational things that people will tell you. Same when you buy a cooking knife. People will tell you its durability and good quality, but actually, down to some statistical analysis, you'll soon find it's actually a status symbol. It shows me I'm a good chef. I can create tasty dishes. It makes me an interesting person. So that's another thing, a way of getting in contact with the other 95% of our decision making. So obviously, in terms of SAS, we've done some statistical analysis on what drives people to pay more for flight tickets. We've done through a tracks analysis. Our good colleague Niklas Bunderson, who is a researcher at Bold Stockholm University, has developed a method how you can track these things. And when we asked the travelers for SAS, they say it's easy to travel, they have many departures, and it's price. That's what's driving people to pay more for SAS. But through some clever statistical analysis, we come up with these four that has been the basis for our work with SAS. And they are community, that the travelers are a part of a community where loyalty goes both ways. A sense of joy of traveling. The two most apparent feelings when you're traveling or flying is anticipation and joy. That's what people feel when they're traveling. Even though it's a business trip to some God-forgotten factory 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday when you should be back home with your family, it still has a status and a sense of joy. And then it's reliable and professional. That SAS will take care of their customers, even though a flight has to be cancelled or be broken, they will be taken care of in the best professional way. And the last one is that SAS makes life easier. Not only traveling easier, life. That's all good and dandy, but how can the visual identity help with this? And then I have another book we read. Another good book. And in 2 slides, to summarize this book, it says, in order to grow a brand, you need to be available. Mentally or physical. Physical availability is that the product is actually on the shelf in the store in order for the clients to buy. Visual identity can't have much role there. So we're down to mental availability. In order to be mentally available, you need to be distinct. And that is build brand assets that in every touch point communicates and resonates with the core associations with the brand. That could be anything. They could be colors, symbol, logos. A lot of world-famous brands like the Nike swoosh, they build so much into that swoosh. Every time we see it, will resonate with us. So, to summarize, we knew we needed to create a willingness to pay. We need the customers to be able to feel that they want to pay more for an SAS flight ticket. We know that decisions are made on gut feeling. It's the 95% of our decision making that will make the choices. Obviously, we spend a lot of time after rationalizing why we made that choice, but in the beginning, it's a gut feeling choice. And we know what brand associations will drive this. And we know that SAS needs to be distinct.
So emotions tells you more than numbers. This is the face of my CEO, dark November day in 2012. How do you think he felt? We were 4 hours from bankruptcy. There was one plan. It was the biggest saving and efficiency plan in the history of SAS. And if we didn't get that through, we were dead. We were out of business. We could close down 12,500 employees. We could stop flying, and the infrastructure of Scandinavia would be half dead. That was where this started. How can that happen? You know, how do you get to this place? Well, you can start by looking at the industry of airlines. The industry of airlines, and I'll just have to stay in this room and don't tell my boss that I told you. It's a shitty business. It's a crappy business, because look at this. The blue line over here is the WACC. So the WACC is the cost of borrowing money on an average in the industry of airlines. So if I need to buy a plane, I need to borrow money because I don't have enough cash, and then I travel around 7.5%, 8% in interest rate. So I have to pay that back to the banks. Now, as an airline, I invest my money. I buy planes, I hire people like me, overpaid people like me, and then I get a return. That's the green line, so the return on invested capital, which travels around 4.5%. So at an industry average, the last decade, we've been destroying economic value. It's a huge challenge for the industry to be in a situation where you don't generate value. It's difficult to get new investors that believe in you when you as an industry don't generate value. So is there no hope? Should we just close our doors? Of course not. Look at this. 10 years, 70% growth in the infrastructure of airlines in Northern Europe. 70% increase of volumes. It's huge. There's an immense market out there. But let's look at how it sort of is growing. Two things. One is the capacity is driven by low-cost carriers. New carriers like EasyJet, Ryanair, and so on have entered the market, transformed the market, right? And they travel at low cost, right? You know, you travel with them, I'm sure, once in a while yourself. The other part is that the segment that is growing is not as it was in the old days, which was business. Business isn't normally where value lies, but leisure is growing with 6%. Actually, today the number is even higher. So we see an increased growth, extreme growth in leisure, and we see increase of low-cost carriers. So that's where the volumes come from. So where does that leave us? Fundamentally, the glass is half empty, or it's glass half full, if you want. I always choose to view life as a half-full opportunity. But on the left side, what we see as SAS and what we saw back in those days was that we see an extreme yield pressure. Yield is basically the money we get back for every flight seat. So the competition is pushing price down. The flight seat is almost not worth anything anymore. Every day we see the price competition increase. Taxes, flight taxes, airport taxes, 500 billion SEK extra taxes in Norway this year, for example. Huge impact on our P&L. Currency and jet fuel, all our fuel is bought in dollars. And, you know, there's turmoil in the US, and Mr. Trump is there, and things are happening, and the currency is around 9 for an SEK at the moment, which is very much higher than it was before, so we get hit hard by that. And we need money, because you need to invest in airplanes. You need to fly, and you need to keep them secure, and you need to continue to invest. So that's a huge challenge for us. Now, the opportunity lies with 3 different areas. We have and have had and are incredibly lucky to have a strong customer offering. We've been building a huge and strong, significant package, which is a product package that our consumers like and love. And we know that because we measure it. We have a quite flexible production platform. So we have wet lease operations, we have a quite good digital setup, and also we have an incredibly loyal consumer base in Northern Europe. So we have an immense potential to capture this growth in the future. What we also see is that the world is changing. So when the low-cost carrier started, they debundled the products, meaning that you basically buy your seat, and then you have to pay for your luggage, your coffee, to breathe, to go to the toilet, everything, right? That's how they operated before. And us, which we call legacy carriers, we said if you buy a ticket with us, you get everything for free. Everything. We will give you a massage, right? That was how it was in the old days. This world is changing. Norwegian have opened Fast Track, they offer lounges, they package business packages, and we debundle because we have to. So we're meeting in the middle, and anyone that's been to a business school know that being in the middle is complete and utter rubbish. You need to do something to get out of that middle part of the business. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to focus on one thing mainly: the flyer, loyalty, membership. We saw Adrian talking about what drives willingness to pay. Members, loyalty, community is what we will differentiate ourselves upon. And where do we start? We need to start with understanding our customers, naturally. Who are these flyers that fly with us and sit and spend almost 3 years of their lives with SAS? You need to understand your customer. So the first thing we did is we said, okay, who are actually traveling with us? And what's interesting is, in the Scandies, we are about 20 million people. Small, I know, we're in Germany, but still, we're 20 million people, right? Amongst those 20, 2.3 travel 5 times or more per year within Scandinavia or to or from Scandinavia. Okay, so 2.3 million. Tiny, it's not many, but those 2.3 stand for 70% of our turnover. So where do you focus? You focus on your 5+, which we call them, as your target group. And what's great with these guys is that their age, their demography, they're around 30 to 55. They're normally well educated. They have a higher than average income. They live in the bigger cities. It's the perfect target group because we can build value with these guys. So when we focus in SAS on the customer, we focus on 5+. Now, is that enough? No. We need to understand more about these guys. Who are they? What do they think of when they wake up in the morning? What do they care about when they travel? What do they care about when they're at home with their families? So we have created some archetypes. And we don't do that by sitting and talking with our friends and imagining things. We do it through hard data. So we do a lot of statistical studies to understand who our target group is. 5 core target archetypes, and 2 of them turned out to be our focus, which we call the independent life explorer and the curious data seeker. Okay? Fancy names, you could say, but it defines 2 archetypes. These 2, basically, we've filtered by two main filters, right? The first is the size of the price. You need to have an archetype which is sizable. You need to have, that there are enough people. You need to know that they have an attractive behavior, that they spend money within travel and so on. And you also need to know whether they have an effect on other people. The friends that you have that impact you when they post things on Facebook, right? These guys are the most important for us. And we need to know, can we win with them? Can we attract them? Does the competitor own them already? And how can we reach them? So those are the filters we take. The numbers you see up to the right is how many they basically are. So around 20 to 30% as a total part of the 5+ community, and then a split between 20 and 40 on leisure and business. So we know that these guys are the most important for us. So what we do is that we try to define these people and describe how they are. The independent life explorer is, the world is my oyster type. The guy or girl that travels the world and sees the world as its home. This is the type of person that loves to indulge himself in me time on the plane, that loves design, loves the detail. That's the independent life explorer. The curious data seeker is the gadget nerd. The guy or the girl that always are looking for the next thing, virtual reality, loves tech stuff, loves business class, and loves the chair and the pushing buttons and stuff like that, all the next things that's happening in the world. So these are the 2 people and groups of people we generally need to talk to. So what we do is we filter our thinking from a 5+ environment, which is really unreachable, and then we try to understand down to some specific features how we should have a focus as a brand and how we should execute. both in products and design. So that leaves us with a brand strategy. When we talk to these guys, and we ask them, if there's one thing we can solve for you, Mr. Traveler, Mrs. Traveler, what would that be? And these guys are really busy because they have families, they run, they travel, they have a lot of things going on. And there's one thing that they always bloody lack in their lives, and that's time. And it's time not only traveling from A to B, but it's time in their lives. So what they tell us and what the insight we work from is that if we can make their life easier, not only in travel, but in life, we will make a difference for these people. So we exist to make life, not travel, that's important, life easier for Scandinavia's frequent travelers. And hence our brand promise, every time we wake up in the morning and think what I need to do for the flyer, is making their time matter. Making their time matter. So that's important. Have that in the back of your heads when you hear the rest of the presentation. Mr. Adrian.
So we'll soon have a look at some design, by the way. But when we got this assignment from SAS 3 years ago, this is to give you some background. We haven't only done design. Our sister agency, Archetypes, has also taken a new communication approach. So for your info, in order to make all this make sense, we're going to have a look at some commercials. But together we defined our target for SAS to increase baseline sales, not the kind of lower the price and sell more tickets kind of thing, in the baseline of sales, the everyday sale that just goes on a short-term and a long-term perspective by communication and design. So we created a communications concept called We Are Travelers that was based on the pride that has been in SAS and based on who travels the most. Well, that's the staff. Those are our heroes. And it looked something like this.
So,
Been a CEO, broken free from it all. Become an inventor instead. Designed shoes that play music, created wooden robots that sing, and a portable synthesizer. You just checked in the prototype of your next invention. The factory is waiting. The next journey begins. From one true traveler to another.
And this is as a concept that's going on now for 2.5 years, and I'll just give you a brief glimpse of one of the latest ones.
So you going to New York for business or vacation?
Bizcation, my friend, bizcation. I'm gonna start a company that sells water bottles. Cool water bottles. Water bottles that keep cool by themselves. Then I'm gonna sell that company and go on a permanent vacation. And someone will see me and say, hey, there goes Mr. Bizcation. I'll say, hey, my man, how you doing?
So clever little piece. Now we're gonna get you back down to the design issue.
Yeah, so we know we have a challenge, right? We know we're under pressure economically. We know we need to focus. We now know our target group. We know who they are, how they act, how they react. So how does that relate to design? You know, how is it relevant for us to talk to a design agency to talk, to do something with this for us? One important insight from these two groups is that they truly love and care for design. Design for them is not only something, not only about colors, or it's a choice of life. It's an intrinsic way of behavior that they pursue. Right? So we know that they care about that, and actually we know that it affects their shopper behavior because it's an integral part of how they live. So fine, then we learn that, and then we say, okay, but I think we're pretty good at design at SAS. And then we get this. This is a bit hard to read, but basically you could see that this is basically proving the indexes of interest of design, right? But what we saw when we looked at SAS was this picture. Basically that unfortunately our frequent travelers saw ourselves as a bit boring, a bit old, they didn't really see a unified visual identity, didn't see us as modern, innovative, or anything like that. So we needed to change that in order to attract the core target group. So that's basically the business problem we came to Bold with, and they needed to try to fix.
Finally. Now let's begin with the fun stuff. So when we started with the design, we felt that we wanted to have a closer look on how SAS was perceived out there. And this is the short image of the 1990s, the new identity that was developed at that time. It was supposed to be premium, and it was very premium, it was very, very distinct. But how did it look 2014? What had happened? So what we did was, we did something we call a visual audit, where we have a closer look on all the different touch points that SAS had 2014. And we saw actually that it was extremely diverse. They used 18 manuals, different manuals, and the expression was not the same SAS that we saw in the image before from the 1990s. And this was quite an interesting thing for us. We didn't even know that, but this is why we did this visual audit, to really make sure that how SAS was perceived was not the same as it was before. So this is more or less how it was perceived 2014. If you examine those images quite closely, you're going to see that a lot of these secondary colors have increased usage. So this blue SAS was not the same anymore. It was a very, very diverse expression. And it actually had more resemblance with the these charter airlines, or the low-cost airlines, as you could see there. And it wasn't felt as a premium airline or full-service airline company. So it was like this text. Summary of that was it was a fragmented brand expression that did not create a coherent and distinct customer experience. So our creative brief was to focus on exactly what like we just heard about the true travelers, and we are travelers, and focus on them solely. The travelers are proud, they travel a lot, they see the world, and also it is the combination with the crew. So this image is very beautiful because this is both real travelers that we have in this image, but also the crew together like a community. So this was something that were following us, and we had this is quite an easy thing. It's just our aim was to update the visual identity, to create a more coherent, premium, and unique SAS visual expression. This is our aim for the work 2014. So where do we begin? If we have a close look on the logotype, what we aim for when working with big brands like SAS, we aim for something called a unified brand appearance. That means that the brand should look the same in all touch points. And a strong symbol can really be the key element to achieve that instant brand recognition that is needed for big brands. And other companies like Apple, for example, have done that for a long time. They had a lot of colors in the beginning, and they just simplified it, so everyone should focus on the form and not the color. So this apple, the form of the apple, really get imprinted in the minds. And just take the names away. And what you need to do next is just put it in a really important place, in a center position on the product, of course. That's why they are there on the computer. So you see them every day, so you're like brainwashed. In a positive way, of course. The same Nike did. And that's why they have their swoosh, the symbol on all their products in a central position. So if you're looking at SAS, this is something we knew that we needed to do. So we needed to create this symbol. We knew the SAS, how it looked, this logotype. But it has a very interesting history. It hadn't always been that box logotype, as you could see there. That was the logotype 2014. It had a history of quite other ways of working with the logotype that we felt was very, very interesting. And you could see all the colors there as well. This is like a summary, what we wanted to do. We wanted actually to make this very, very distinct logotype, and we needed to take different elements away that distracted from this distinct word mark that became the new logotype. So we took the box away because that is a square that doesn't say so much, doesn't say anything about SAS. And also, you see that we went back history. We went back long before the new identity, before the 90s, when it was used more freely. And we put it in a center position. That was our direction, for example, like that. So we freed the logotype like this. We didn't want to take the blue away. Absolutely not. The blue was essential for brand recognition. So what we wanted to do is to maximize the uses of blue. So that was how we was thinking when we actually took the blue and just expanded it into surface. The logotype became free, but yet it was blue surface. But what happened if you couldn't use the whole surface? Well, of course, the logotype then became the blue. And then we put it in central position like this, on images, to, like we say, we had this saying that it should be free, like our travelers roam the world, the logotypes should be free and like put in these positions in films and everything where it feels like it's flying and it's free. The colors, you could see the colors, there were a lot of colors, a lot of secondary colors that had taken a very prominent role in the identity, 2014. And we had this this is quite fun because this is exactly the starting point. This is very, very early, very, very early. I had this idea about like taking ownership of a color. I think Yves Klein is really, really a good example, of course. He used a lot of different colors, but he's very famous for his blue color. And how do you take ownership of a color? Well, you have to use it a lot. You can't use it a little bit. You have to use it a lot. And it is difficult, of course, because there are other airline companies that are blue. But this was a starting point. Take ownership of blue. So let's make use of blue as much as possible. So we looked at a different world, the blue world, we called it, to look at products. And we created something we called a blue on blue. We created 5 different hues of blue, so we could use them also on digital devices, but also in a very, very subtle way to create a premium expression for merchandise and product you spend a lot of time with. We don't use that in advertising. It's difficult to see, of course, but it's very premium, like on cups and different products. Typeface, this is where we actually started with the typeface. There was a discussion at SAS that they didn't need a Scandinavian typeface anymore, that they wanted to go to maybe a free typeface like Arial and Verdana. In Sweden, you know, what IKEA did when they took Verdana instead of Futura that they had before, was quite annoying for designers, because that's what big companies always refer to. It's like, but IKEA did it, why can't we? Like, yeah, but we don't want Verdana everywhere. So we had to fight a little bit, but we kept Scandinavian, but then we had to update it because it was quite old typeface. So we had to update it for the digital environment. And we also added actually a book version, so it was for much better readability in longer text. But it was a nice typeface, and you would never want to kill a typeface that has such a strong brand recognition that had been used for 20 years. That would be really, really not good. So we kept it. Just update it. And looking at Scandinavia, because Scandinavia has been a very, very big important thing in SAS, of course, in their core values. And so what was Scandinavia 1990s, what was it 2014? So we did like a close look in this, like an inspirational journey where we're trying to see what's the Scandinavian approach 2014. These are just mood board images. I'm not going to talk so much about it, but this is what we did, trying to find some of these core values. Of course, we were very interested in this innovation that happens in Scandinavia. It's everything from food, craftsmanship, in different technology spheres like financial technology, but also in music, there's a lot of creativity going on that we wanted to express in identity. And also, these are very, very important, our family values, this equality way of living that we actually have in Scandinavia, that we also wanted to get into the identity. So this was very, very good foundation for us to build on when we did everything else later on. Premiumness, of course, was it's a difficult word, this word premium, but we use it as a guiding principle in some kind of way. Images. Well, also the color of images. In Scandinavia, of course, it's a lot of cold. We have a lot of snow, as you probably know, mountains. So it's quite cold place. So this color palette of the blue tones and representing in the images as well should be quite clear. But we also we travel a lot in Scandinavia. We travel to warmer places, probably because it's cold. But and we're curious, of course, in everything that happens around in the world. So we also wanted these colors in the images that had this warm feeling. And then, of course, we wanted our images to represent the true traveler's view of the world. They're not tourists. They travel a lot. They see the world from another perspective, than a tourist perspective. So we want our images to represent that. And they should be like aspiring images, dream. They should invoke different feelings. So this is very, very crucial for us in images. So let's have a close look at the layout inspiration here. We were focusing early on this fashion industry and their use of logotypes in a very, very big way, and images. So, and also the frame. This is quite, of course, you frame images in galleries to enhance the importance of the image. This has been used a lot in fashion industry to enhance the importance and premiumness of an image. They are building on that from that core values that are already present in the frame. They're using it. So we wanted to use that, but we also want to use this way of work with the logotype, always in a very centered, proud position. And the typography, we wanted to use typography that was in uppercase letters like this, like bold statements, very, very common also in fashion industry. So our layout, this is like a small step-by-step. It looks really easy, actually. It's quite easy. This is an image of a traveler from the first campaign. And we just put the frame on that. We're framing that image. It enhances the importance. It looks better. But we couldn't use really the old logotype because this is before we actually had changed logotype. We had ideas, of course. But you can see how could we use the old logotype with a box logotype? Could we use it big? Well, it looks quite strange. And if you're small, it's just like a small sender. It's not in a center proud position at all. So we had to take the box away. This is actually the reason from the beginning as well when we took it away, so it could work. And then what happened with the blue? Well, the blue needs to be there, so we took it out in the frame. And then just put in the typography, like here it says who it is, and the Star Alliance logotype, we could put that in the frame, so it's always readable. And then we just put in the big We Are Travelers typography in Scandinavian black, uppercase. This was like the foundation for the design principles. And this became the first campaign that we did. That was a big campaign, We Are Travelers campaign in the autumn 2014. And now I'm just going to go through a lot of applications. I'm going to go quite quick. These are different ads for the We Are Travelers campaign. Outdoor communication and with a proud logotype. This is very, very common communication in Stockholm. You see it quite often. This is actually a very, very easy campaign to do in terms of design. These are all very strict guidelines to do this kind of communication. And this is an overview of the identity. And we were very happy when we saw this overview because you could really see the use of blue. You could really see how we have taken a lot of colors away and focusing on the logotype, the typography, the blue, and the images. So it becomes much more easy to remember. We did the menu, of course, and I'm going to go a little bit quicker. We did the new website that is up, running. And of course, we did it for different mobile devices. And also the in-flight entertainment system. And we did the new stationery, focusing on the logotype and the colors, the different colors of blue. And the brown color is the sand color, the warm color that's also present in the identity. And we did everything from these junior traveler bags. The new uniforms was a big undertaking. We did all the new uniforms. The scarf, where we collaborate with a fashion designer. And this is the proudest moment that we've actually had when we were out there. We did the airplane for the 70th anniversary. And you can see the logotype up there. We're very happy that we got that through because it's massive. It's really big. And the gradient is also part of that concept. This is an on-board service, the digital devices to help the crew. And everything on board, a new interior design was implemented. And also now the new Nordic. This is also a totally new launch actually with the food concept, food and beverage concept. You're going to see it if you're flying with SAS now. There's also a very innovative way of working where it's cubes instead of the ordinary food packaging that you get on the airline. So, there you go. This is our case film.
When our journey begins in 2014, SAS lacked both confidence and consistency, and looked just like any other low-price competitor. Through research, we learned that a mere 12% of SAS customers were responsible for a staggering 70% of the airline's overall revenue. They became our new target group, and we call them the True Travelers. To attract this new target group, we needed to upgrade the SAS brand in every sense. We let the word mark out of its box, letting it roam free, just like our travelers. The world of a traveler isn't simply blue, there are many shades in between. Together with a photographer, we created the SAS Sky Gradients. The new image style was inspired by the True Traveler's view of the world. Our target group craved a brand as dynamic and vibrant as they are, so our typeface, pictograms, graphic elements, and layout system was adjusted and updated for all digital media. Finishing the core elements, we started implementing the new identity and all of the brand's touchpoints. So did it fly? Well, yes, it did. The rebranding and communication resonated with the True Travelers. Brand value increased by nearly 167 million euro. Return on media investment increased fourfold, and revenues increased by 65 million euro in just 1 year. The SAS journey will continue, and we hope to welcome you aboard again soon.
Could you have some sound? No?
Macht ihr ihn noch mal an, bitte?
Could you... Didrik, you can have my microphone instead.
I pass you mine, because I'm on.
Okay, but this is going to be fun.
Okay.
Then I have to have it out of your pocket, I'm sorry. Okay, so we're flexible in the airline industry. Anyways, what I was going to say was this is the Bold's way of doing a video is always what agencies love to do, but we're incredibly proud of that project. And I just wanted to dwell 2 seconds with the results. This is Harold. He's a Danish pilot. He spent 40 years with SAS. He saw this universe on TV, and he said he cried. He took his old pilot suit on, and he went to Kastrup, where we have our head offices, and he said, "Thank you. This is the SAS I know." And that says a lot, because internal pride is incredibly important for a company like us. And the visual identity helps you unify internally what we want to achieve in the future. So this, for us, is a testament of the fact that it worked. Brand preference. We love brand preference, and we love to beat Norwegian because we think we're bloody better. This shows also that it worked. Of course, it's not only visual identity. Of course, we did other commercial initiatives during that period, but we significantly increased the gap between us and our main competitor. And brand preference is the same as translating into economic value, because it gives people a reason to pay more. And that's why we can say that our brand value increased by this quite significant number in 1 year, and that every number I put in from my marketing budget into this campaign and into the visual identity came back 4 times. So great results.
A few quick things on some stuff we learned. As you notice, this presentation contained about 20 minutes of pretty boring slides on what people say in books and how commercial strategy is formed. And we believe that is hugely important on getting that right before you actually start doing any work. Especially in a company in the size of SAS, because we're going to meet a ton of stakeholders internally on SAS that has their different agenda that we're going to meet. So we need to get our story straight. What are our main purpose? So you start at the top with a common commercial understanding that is very well defined and true. And then at the end, you start executing. You don't do the other way around. And then a small note on persistency and patience. Change is very emotional for SAS, and you can see in our case we broke the box, the logo out of the box, and it sounds pretty easy, but when we did it in the beginning, it had to stay on stationery, because the CEO, Rickard, he saw the new stationery we designed and thought, "Nah, that looks strange. I think the box should be there." So it was kept. We had a question up for some number of times, but 2 years later we wanted to do we wanted to enter some design competitions, and then we had an agreement with Didrik that we should do a small kit of a new design stationery. And by chance, Rickard happens to see that in a meeting and thought, "That looks great. We should have that." So the box logo was, after 2 years, taken away from the design manual. It had a small bisection at the time. This is you meet a ton of those moments.
Okay. Oh, now this is not working either. This is going to be really fun. Okay, I'll be back. Yeah, great. So what I wanted to say is that every time I wake up Monday morning and I come to work, I think this. What's the future? There's 2 things that we want to highlight when we talk to these guys of where we're heading. Personalization. I personally believe that we will never be able to succeed as an airline, as a brand, as a company, if we don't fix this. Fundamentally, it means for me that I have to stop thinking that I can use a machine gun and bombard you with one message. It doesn't work like that anymore. I need to find the right message the relevant message to you in the right channels. Because if not, you will choose somebody else who's more relevant than you. It means that I'll have to be able to target you guys, even though you're completely different. One of you might travel a lot, 5 times or more, travel the world, be a gold card member, have certain needs. And the other one of you might be a leisure traveler who travels once a year, or once every second year, and you have completely different needs. I cannot bombard you with the same content in the same channel. I need to reach you on your cell phone or your iPad in the same party with different messages. So that's a key task that we have for the future. The other part is lifestyle company. Now, we talked about the crisis, we talked about the industry, we talked about the hard margins we have and the difficulty of creating value. We believe at SAS that we will have to change that. This is a quick economical exercise. If you look at our 5+, they travel for around 70 million a year in flight-related spend. So that's around half of that we capture with our flight business, right? Now, the thing is that the same people, they spend another 300 billion on flight-related experiences, hotels, cars, stuff like that. 300 billion. What do I get from that? Nothing, almost. Very little money. Then on top, you guys, because many of you are in this bucket, you go to the hairdresser, to the cinema, you shop online groceries, you spend a lot of money which are lifestyle related, and in that bucket, I get absolutely nothing. So we believe, since we have these fantastic loyal travelers, we have a strong brand, we have a fantastic brand identity, we are on a journey where we will develop our airline from being an A to B airline, businessman's airline, to becoming a membership airline, focusing in on the customer, and in the future, become a lifestyle company. A lifestyle company, a brand which is relevant not only during travel, but way before, way after you come home. Maybe we can take care of your kids. Maybe we can make sure that your groceries are in your kitchen when you come home from a long travel at work during the week. So when I go to these guys now and talk about consistency, talk about visual identity, they need to wake up to a completely new and even harsher reality. And the visual identity that they produce, then it needs to be even more dynamic, even more flexible, and still as consistent, because distinctiveness and consistency is key for a brand to remain within the mental availability of the consumer.
I have 1 more minute, my last 3 slides. So this is actually how we believe we can deliver. And that is that we are really working on a holistic brand experience and creating a brand infrastructure that really can deliver those very good aims and especially the goals of a lifestyle company. And what we wanted to do at Bold and what we are working at now and hopefully we're going to be implementing in the future as well in all our customers, is also that when you have a big company, you have a lot of these different touch points, and usually they can be quite fragmented. They can work in different areas in a company. They work on different touch points. So it creates a really fragmented customer experience. So what we do is that we divide them in 3 different areas: the printed, the digital, and the physical environment. We gather them in there, and then we combine them into this form that we call holistic brand experience. So we build everything from a brand concept that we have in the middle, and it just goes out, it radiates into these 3 environments, and it adopts in each environment, so we can really get the message out. We feel that this is extremely important if you are going to carry those aims out to the consumer. So
in order to deliver that, we believe that traditionally a lot of visual identities have been seen as projects. We strongly believe it should be seen as a product that needs development, that needs nurturing, because the surrounding doesn't stop, it continuously evolves. It needs to be consuming-centric and adoptable, and you need scalable tools. For example, all the brand portals we do now, they contain code that every digital touch point they will use in the same source code. So you can actually have a tool that will deliver a totally unified brand experience. But I think we're going to leave you with that. Thank you very much for listening.
So you did answer all the questions we could have asked you. Thank you very much. And danke Ihnen. You see, your 50 Shades of Blue work very well because we try to copy you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.